For a great cup of joe, there's one thing you should know. Your morning brew can also be playful. Buff Boy Brewing guys make the temperature rise, and you surely feel naughty when you swallow our coffee. If you want some real heat, give your mouth a fine treat. You will want some more, rest assured. Buff Boy Brewing, you can't get enough of.
It's time for The Scribble, your weekly fix of celebrity chats, bizarre stories in the news, and basic random chatter with best-selling author and syndicated radio host Jeremy Bradley. Make sure your seat is in the upright and locked position and your barf bag is securely in place. Here's Jeremy Bradley.
Thank you very much, Larson. Jeremy Bradley here. This is The Scribble. Thanks for tuning in at thescribbleshow.com and on SoundCloud and iTunes. Happy June 3rd to ya. So we've got two celebrity interviews that we ran on the radio that we're going to use on the podcast today. Rachel Reilly, she's one of the veterans from Big Brother. She chimed in to talk about the Big Brother Canada finale that just happened again in early May. So Rachel joined us on that 10th anniversary show, and then Ben Mulroney, he's one of the hosts of etalk. Those of you in Canada are probably familiar with the show on CTV. Ben was one of our very first celebrity guests ever on the radio show, and so we taped a segment with him as well. So we've just got multi-week programming for you. We had those 3 weeks in Mexico, and now we're just continuing. You know, we'll do one interview and milk it for as much as we can. I will promise you that. I am the official cheapskate. Remember, the best-selling cheapskate authors. So, I definitely know how we can certainly utilize our content and make the most of it. Would love to hear your thoughts about our celebrity guests and anything that you want to hear on the show. The email address is live@jbonair.com, live, L-I-V-E, @jbonair.com, and we're also on Twitter at The Scribble Show, at The Scribble Show, and follow along with me on Twitter at SF, as in Speak Free, SF Celeb Watch, because I'm live tweeting The Bachelorette. Here's the deal, everybody. I said, even before episode 1, that I'm going to slut shame. I'm going to. You have to. When you watch a show like this, you do not take it seriously. JoJo, and first off, that's like a 6-year-old girl's name. No man is going to take you seriously with a name like JoJo. It's Joelle or whatever the hell her name is. Call her Joelle. Don't call her JoJo. Anyway, she's asking to be slut-shamed because, yes, it might be a double standard that guys can make out with everyone when they're the Bachelor, but girls do it and they're all of a sudden whores. No, here's the deal, is that I don't think that the guys are any more respected because then they're labeled as players and leading the women on and all that other stuff. So it is a two-way street, and we criticize both gender. At least I do, on my Twitter anyway. I'm not going to speak for all these other people. And so definitely, if you're following The Bachelorette, follow me on Twitter at SFCelebWatch. Now, this brings me to a story that happened a couple of weeks ago. It was actually night 1 of The Bachelorette, right? So I am going on about how the guys are going to be douches. I have some really sarcastic jokes because it's just, I don't take the show seriously. So I said, some of the great things about it is that, on the first episode, you wonder how many of the guys have girlfriends or are married, how many are there just to be famous, how many of the bachelorettes, the actual people doing the picking, are there just to be famous. And so, Jake Pavelka, he was the guy that broke Vienna's heart. I'm trying to think. There's been so many seasons and so many people. He was with Vienna, and then he was on he did Dancing with the Stars, too. Anyway, so I made a comment because he reappeared on the very first episode this season of The Bachelorette, and so I decided to... I've got to even find what my comment was now that I think about it, just because this woman just lashed out at me. And it's funny because her handle is JakesFan555. And I had said something to the effect of, it's great to see... Oh, here we are. It's great to see that Jake had nothing better to do. Sorry, I'm going to just bring it up here. Good to see Jake Pavelka still had nothing going on and had time to take another crack at desperation. She writes back... He's got me, FYI, Dumbledore. I don't know what that means. So I wrote, yes, I said desperation, delusional. And that was all. I just left it at that because she seems nuts. She's got 1 follower and 600 tweets. So she just starts to unload on me, and I'm just scrolling here to try and find these tweets. She writes back, fighting with females, celebrity is your style. Kiss some smelly bleep today. And then she says, for your info, at Jake Pavelka 1 is handsome and sexy. He's got hot abs unlike you. Then she says, creepy, blocked for sexual harassment. Then she goes on she just tweets him a million times. Tried talking to trolls and bullies in a civilized ways is impossible, handsome. They are monsters. You try to talk to them like a 21st century folks, and they don't like that. They just want a bitch slap. It makes it impossible to not call them names. They just awful monsters. Block them, baby. EXO, I love, send me message. So she just randomly tweets him all of these things. And I have a job and a life, so I'm not sitting on Twitter all day reading these things. And so then one of my staffers comes and says, she's unloading on you again for some weird reason. So she says, Jake Pavelka, this is a tweet to me, has awesome support like me while you're bullying him. You have no one to stand up for you. Tips. And then there's another tweet that says, plus, you're the one to initiate the bullying. It wasn't me or sweetie Jake Pavelka, creepy a-hole, and a liar now blocked. Then there's another tweet that says, and these are all within minutes of each other, for your info, FYI, I am a delight and joy to handsome Jake Pavelka 1. He loves me, and you're just hateful, ugly man with no fans. Again, she's got 1 follower. I've got 74,000. Hey, dumbass, you're bullying Jake Pavelka 1. What's so hard to get? You're a bully. It's a crime. Nothing funny about that. Another tweet, you can get arrested for bullying Jake Pavelka 1. What's do funny about that? Stop harassing me and Jake, dumb troll. I'm serious, you need to stop bullying me and Jake Pavelka 1. That is your last comment. Stop. And she's basically arguing. I'm laughing right now as I'm reading them again because I'm sitting there going, is this person real? It's honestly this person who's got 600 tweets and 1 follower, just a nut job. Now, we do hear that there's people that are fans of these reality show wash-ups and just idolize them, but I didn't think there were those diehard fans. So there's a part of me that's sitting here thinking, can this be real, or is this just somebody playing games trying to get me riled up? Because that's what people want, is those Twitter fights back and forth. I took PR in school, and I just know how this industry works, is that from a corporate standpoint, from a personality point of view, when I'm saying personality, a well-known personality, you comment once back to a person, they can fire back 17 million times, but you just leave it at that. You just don't respond. That's the proper PR thing to do in social media. So I don't even respond, and then there's just a barrage of tweets after that, which, like I said, is comical to me. But again, it makes me wonder if I'm falling into this trap, though I'm not playing into it, so I guess I'm not, of, this is somebody who's just trying to get you riled up. But the fact that there's 600 and some tweets that go back months and months and months, I just... You're a crazy woman, is all I gotta say. So what I did was we were having a laugh about these in the office, and I said, I want to get her on the show. I want to have her on my radio show with me because it's just nuts. You just can't make this stuff up, right? And they're saying, no, don't. And I said, how great would it be to just honestly ask her questions and, about this relationship that she has with Jake, and how did you meet him? What kind of flowers does he get you, and all these things. And then all of a sudden drop the bombshell and say, I talked with Jake and he says he doesn't know you. And everybody that I told that story to was laughing and said that that's mean. And I said, wait a second. Whoa, wait a second. I'm mean, but look at the names that this weirdo was calling me on Twitter and lashing out and saying all these horrible things, but I'm mean for going and doing something like that. I don't know. To me, that seems like a double standard. I have the platform in the audience. For people like that, I would just have to have her on the show, pull the string, and just let her go on her own. She can talk about how she loves him and how he loves her, and leave it up to the listener to discern how much of a crazy moron she is. Now I'm editorializing, but anyway, I thought it would be funny. So I should tweet her and say, come on the air with me, and I want to hear about your romance. Do you think she would? I don't know. Maybe that'll be next week. If we've got no celebrity guests next week, let's book her. We'll see if we can get her. She's got 1 follower. It's not like she's, bombarded with friendships. All right, we're going to take a break. We've got Ben Mulroney coming up in just a bit.
Isn't it crazy that you wait for payday, but before you know it, you're strapped for cash again? It's time to stop blowing your money and become a smart spender with the book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate at cheapskatebook.com. Learn simple ways to cut costs at home every day and during special times of the year. Don't go broke at Christmas. Don't remortgage the house for a fancy vacation. The book is filled with tips to save you money throughout the year. Check out the best-selling book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate at cheapskatebook.com or on Amazon and iTunes.
Who are the Kardashians feuding with now? What did that little thug Justin Bieber do this time? Who's getting hitched? And who's headed for Splitsville? Hear the latest celebrity news and gossip every day on Entertainment Wrap-Up. The good, the bad, the ugly, but mostly the ridiculously hilarious. It's all recapped in this daily segment at entertainmentwrapup.com. Have a laugh at the expense of the rich and famous when they take themselves way too seriously. It's 3 minutes of time-wasting fun at entertainmentwrapup.com. Check out Entertainment Wrap Up at entertainmentwrapup.com. Brought to you by Speak Free Books.
Continuing on as we celebrate 10 years on the radio, he was actually one of our first celebrity guests ever, and Canadian Idol was the first major TV event that we covered in Toronto. Host of etalk, Ben Mulroney, is joining us on the line. Hey, Ben.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Let me ask you a question.
Okay.
If you could go back in time and talk to yourself from 10 years ago, what advice would you give yourself as you were starting out this show?
Oh my God, you're putting me on the spot already, Ben. I would say don't get caught up in the production of things, live in the moment and enjoy that as well, because as you probably know from covering red carpets and things like that, you're so focused on putting out a good show, which is important, that you don't really think about it until you get back in the car and you're looking at the pictures you've taken or thought about the people you've talked to, and that's when you start to appreciate it.
I think you're right. I think that's one of the things we do on the Oscar red carpet every year is we remind ourselves, go in there, be a little less prepared, and have a little more fun, and that will translate to better TV.
Exactly, and it's the same thing with our interviews. Back in the day, the first time that we ever had you on, it was a phoner, and then we had you in person at Idol, was almost every question was scripted, everything was, you have it down, and then you're so focused on that if somebody throws you a curveball like you just did, you stumble and you can't come up with an answer. So yeah, the interview style has changed for me as well.
Yeah, exactly. You've got to go in there a little more curious and a little less prepared, because I found that in the beginning, for me, I would know so much about the people that I was interviewing that I would find myself answering my own questions before I gave them a chance to speak.
Exactly. So, we're celebrating a radio milestone for us today, but I know a TV milestone you got to talk about. I'll answer the question. They're bringing back Canadian Idol, right?
Are they? Hey, listen,
No.
if they are, that's news to me. I don't think they'd need me to host that thing. I wouldn't mind being a judge, though. That always seemed like fun.
The rise and fall of the reality show, or at least the reality competition show, The Voice is still doing okay, but a lot of them, have come and gone.
I think so, and listen, it was a great run. I think people, I don't think can appreciate how much American Idol influenced not just other competition shows, but television in general. There was so much that came out of that show that was copied, that was emulated, that was sort of derivative, and now I think it's got the proper send-off it deserved, and I like the fact that they kept the door open just a little bit on the off chance that they could find a way to tweak it, make it a little more relevant to a younger generation, and bring it back.
You could co-host with Brian Dunkelman.
Oh, wasn't that great when he showed up? I thought that was funny as heck.
Yeah, it was pretty good. Okay, so no, the whole Canadian Idol, that was a joke. The real milestone, though, etalk killing it for award show season and in entertainment news, right?
Yeah, we're finishing up our 14th season. In September, we'll be beginning our 15th season. And the fact that in our 14th season, our ratings have never been higher, and that when we go toe-to-toe against an American juggernaut like Entertainment Tonight, we beat them in every demographic that you can measure almost every single night of every single week. And that speaks to, I think, our viewers and I think the relationship we have with them, because none of this content that we have is proprietary. We don't own any of it. Entertainment Tonight has the same, if not better, access to all of these stars. And for some reason, people choose us over them. And I think it has to do with the tone of our show, the way we speak to our audience, and the way we analyze the stories that we cover. I think it's more fun. I think it's more irreverent. I think it moves faster. And I think it makes for better TV.
I was going to ask what sets etalk apart, but I think it's sort of Canadian friendliness in a sense also, too, that you're talking about.
Well, I think look, I remember years ago, Entertainment Tonight had a tagline that said not just at the story, but part of it. And I don't think you want to be part of the story. I think you want to be detached from the story. And as the Canadians, we are detached from the story. We do it from Toronto. You do not get into entertainment TV in Canada unless you really love this sort of work, because it's hard from up here. You got to travel a lot. You don't necessarily get the access or the respect that you think you deserve from your American counterparts, and you've got to put a show together on a daily basis that competes with shows that have many more resources than you do. So it's got to come from a place of love, and I think that we do that each and every night.
Exactly. And, people who are listening to this right now, maybe in the United States, streaming online, we ran into the same thing. The little guy from Winnipeg wasn't getting access to the big Hollywood events before, but after many years, you've got to build up a reputation for yourself, right? And then that's how you get noticed by those publicists or whoever it is that you might be wanting to get attention from.
Exactly. They might not remember your name, but they'll remember your face, and then they'll get a good feeling from you. They'll say, oh, I remember that guy. He was the guy who said he was going to call on time and didn't call on time. We asked him not to ask about X, Y, and Z, and he stayed away from those things. And then when it was all done, my client told me they had a great time on his show. Like, those are the things they'll remember. And if you do that over 1 year and 2 years and 5 years and ultimately a decade, then you build up a reputation that is bulletproof.
Absolutely. So now you're all over the place covering award shows, different events. Which one do you look forward to the most every year?
Oh, we have a great time with the Oscars and the Golden Globes. Those are two of my favorites for completely different reasons. The Globes is just a party, and we get to spend a lot of time with our friends in television and in film. We have a really great position on the red carpet with our own risers, so the stars come up into our space as opposed to us trying to corral them on the red carpet from being one of many. And it's just so much fun to be for that. And then the Oscars, because it is the most challenging task that a broadcaster can have in the space that I work in, where you're challenged by the environment, by the subject matter, by the unpredictability of the whole thing, by the fact that the stakes have never been higher for the people you're interviewing. You throw it all together, and you know that you have a lot of eyeballs and interest on your show on that given day, and it's just a real test. And I feel that etalk as a team passes that test with flying colors every year.
And if I'm not mistaken, sometimes you get a better spot on the carpet than Seacrest, don't you?
Oh, I do have a better every year. Every year, he's behind me. He's behind me. He goes ABC, CTV, and then E. So we have the second best position on the carpet.
And he can't see past you because you're so much taller than him too, right?
He can't see past. Well,
no.
Sometimes he stands on his bags of money, and he can see above everybody.
Okay. We'll be watching, and we'll also be watching etalk on CTV. Well, you know what, Ben? Thanks so much for calling in. It's great to sort of loop around back with you after all these years and being our first celebrity guest as well.
Well, congratulations to you. I hope you've enjoyed your 10 years, and here's to 10 more.
Absolutely, and we'll talk to you. We'll probably see you soon in Toronto. Thanks, Ben.
We hear you chirping. Get scribbling. Tweet up the Scribble at The Scribble Show. Join the discussion with Jeremy Bradley. It's all going down right now on Twitter at The Scribble Show and at thescribbleshow.com.
As the latest season of Big Brother Canada wraps up, we've got, everybody's favorite former Big Brother champion, Rachel Reilly, joining us on the line. Hey, Rachel.
Yay! Hey. I'm your favorite.
Well, you know, there's so many people that come and go, but obviously we remember the people who made an impact on the show. And you've also been on Big Brother Canada, too, with Arissa, right?
Yes, I love Arissa. She's my favorite, and she was looking awesome this season. Like, let's talk about fierce. Like, she is on point this season. Every single episode, I was like, man, I'm, obsessed with Arissa's outfits and her hair and everything about her. I just love her.
Yeah, she told me that she goes through a bit of a depression when the season's over because the fashion goes away. She doesn't get to keep it all. Too bad.
That's probably true. She's so cute. Yeah, so speaking of making an impression, this season of Big Brother Canada, whoa. It was so good. I'm not even kidding. I really think that this is one of my favorite seasons of Big Brother Canada that I've watched. I love the Tim and the Nikki that came in. I love, all the house guests they cast this season. I love the wild card twist. And, I know everyone in Big Brother Canada hates all the twists, the twisted seasons. But I kind of liked it this season. I was really into all the twists that they did. The only thing I didn't understand was the Pax brothers the entire season playing as one person. For me, that I got lost with that twist. I thought it would end. I thought they would kind of surprise the audience halfway through and be like, okay, now they can play on their own. But they never did, So for me, I kind of got lost with that because it's like you have this person that you're playing with the entire game who is 100% your ally, who is 100% always on your side. And so for them, they kind of had a huge advantage in the game where they didn't have to really worry about being as stressed out as all the other house guests or worry about having someone to trust, So I wasn't a big fan of the Pax brothers playing together the whole season. I kind of wanted them to split up at some point.
To me, it seemed awkward because I imagine when you go on a show like this, there's either contracts or there's something, and so when you're told the prize money is $100,000, how can they go all of a sudden and say, by the way, it's only going to be $50,000 for you? Like, to me, it almost makes me think that they... Yeah?
I know, I would be so upset if they said that to me. If they were like, okay, so we're casting you as, we're casting you together, and you're only going to make $50,000 instead of $100,000, even though the prize money, everyone else has a chance to win $100,000. I would be like, well, yeah, like, what's the point, Like, then just cast me or cast just my brother, but don't cast us both. And I always kind of wondered, like, if they kind of told them, like, okay, hey, we're casting you together as brothers, and by the way, this is the option, or it's either you guys or someone else will do it. Because if it was that, then I can kind of see why they were like, okay, they didn't really have an option. But if it was like, they were just like, yeah, cool, we're totally on board. I'm like, you guys, you act like you're such Big Brother fans, and they're not. Because no Big Brother fan is totally on board to have to be forced to play with someone else the whole entire season. So that was crazy. But you know what, I will say, to make up for that bad twist, the bad taste in my mouth, I was obsessed with Cassandra and Tim. They were my favorite. And in the beginning, I did not like Cassandra at all. I was like, what is she doing? People were comparing all over the internet. They're like, Rachel's totally like Cassandra. Cassandra's like Rachel Reilly. And I was like, no, because I would actually try to win competitions. And in the beginning, I was just not a Cassandra fan. And then honestly, the more and more the season went on, she grew on me, and I just became obsessed with her. I loved watching her diary room sessions. I loved watching... She was awful in the competitions, but I loved watching her with Tim, the whole, their whole dynamic. I loved watching how she was playing. And even though I know Kelsey was trying to burn her and say Cassandra was not the diabolical genius trying to pull all the strings, she was. Like, Cassandra was pulling all the strings between... her and Tim, they really were the ones pulling the strings, and it was so fun to watch. It was so fun to watch Cassandra, lie to the brothers, use the veto on Tim, and then turn right around, and somehow the brothers are trust her again. I just don't even understand, how she had that way with all the house guests, and they all loved her. If it was her in the end, she would have won hands down. It was so sad to see her go fourth. That was so disappointing. But I think in the end, Joel blew it with him trusting the Pax brothers, helping them in that final HOH. After Joel blew it, Cassandra blew it, then Tim blew it. And, it's a bummer how it had to end up. But I think as a true fan and as fans, I think all across Canada, everyone was probably saying the same thing.
Well, here's the deal. Cassandra is from my hometown of Winnipeg, so here's what we should do. This summer, we're going to go have drinks with Cassandra somewhere on a patio, okay?
I am so down with that. I love it. As long as I can bring my new baby with me.
I was going to say, sure, you know what, leave the husband and the kid at home, and then it's just a party this summer. But it's up to you. We'll see.
Okay.
You mentioned Tim, which is kind of funny because, on this season of Big Brother Canada, if people aren't familiar, there were some imports, right? There were some people from other countries, right. Australia and the UK. It's interesting to see how the Canadian cast welcomed them at the beginning, and then about half, maybe three-quarters of the way through kind of did that rogue Canada thing. Do you think that would have flown in the US version? Somebody from another country coming in and playing like that?
I am not sure because I think it has to do with the characters. I don't think a Nikki would have flown in the U.S. I think we would have all probably just been like, oh, she's crazy. But you want to keep Nikki because Nikki's not winning any competition. She's not really a threat. But then there's a guy like a Tim, and bringing a Tim into the U.S. as Big Brother, I think at first he would be a target. I think definitely we would all go for him at first, but then he wins you over because he's so darn likable. Everything about that Tim is just, you want to love him, I mean, he was one of my favorite people to watch this season. I really think he helped make this season so good, So I don't think that the house guests in the U.S. would even be targeting him either. I think at first we would probably all want to go after the imports because they're not American, and it's easy to target someone that is a twist in the beginning. But then, after you get to know them, you can't help but want to keep them in. And that's what I think happened in Big Brother Canada. I think at first they totally welcomed them, and then they totally grew to love them. And I was actually surprised. I think the Pack brothers were probably the only ones, and maybe Kelsey, that actually even mentioned that they were the international Canadian, that they weren't Canadian. Because I didn't watch the feeds, but I didn't really notice that there was any animosity about Tim. If he would have made it to the end, I think people still would have voted for him, I don't think they would have just said, oh, he's not Canadian. I think they still would have just said, Tim played a good game.
Well, it seemed like they were grasping at straws, right? Like, if that only comes up three-quarters of the way through, then it's not about being an Aussie. It's now we're grasping at straws to get rid of him somehow.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I mean, because, and Tim, I think, in my opinion, Tim was really masterminding the game. Like, he was really pulling a lot of the strings. And with Cassandra on his side, it was so fun to watch. I was so glad to see them playing the game together this season.
Who's more glam, Raul or Gary?
Oh my God, I love Raul. Raul's so fun. But Raul lost me with his helping Jared win the POV when Raul needed to win it and pull Jared off the block. I still can't understand that. So for me, I have to say that Gary's more glam. Plus, it's Glitter Gary. I mean, let's be real. No one can be as glam as Glitter Gary.
Okay, now, I know you're happily with a man, but I gotta ask, who would you rather, okay? Cassandra or Joel?
Okay.
Cassandra or Joel?
Cassandra.
Okay.
Cassandra. I love Joel, but Cassandra.
Oh, okay. All right. I thought it was going to be a difficult question for you, but no. All right. So enough about Big Brother Canada, because you've got a lot on the go. You mentioned, your baby, your family's growing. What do you have on the go?
Yeah. Well, Brendan and I just had a new little baby, Adora Borealis Viegas. She's the cutest little angel, and you can follow her on Instagram or Twitter at Adora Viegas. And that right now, being a mommy is keeping my hands full. To be completely honest, I've been working on a lot of other projects, and they have all been halted just ever since having the baby. She's 24/7, on the boob nursing, and she's just like the cutest little thing, keeping us up all night long. So adjusting to new parenthood, I think, is an adventure for anyone. And I know all the Canadian moms out there can relate.
So is motherhood what you expected, though?
Absolutely. More. I mean, I don't think you can really expect to really... You hear people say that you fall in love so deeply, and when you have your little baby, that is just the most special thing ever. But I don't think you can actually really understand what it is till you actually have that baby. You're holding them in your hands. And until you see the way they look at you, and that you're just their whole world. And even the little things, like when Brendan holds her, it makes you fall in love so much more deeply with your husband, because you see the way that he looks at the baby, and that this is your family. It's such an incredible experience. I don't think motherhood is anything you want to imagine what it's going to be, but it's so different, so much better when you actually become a mother.
If you can sum up Brendan's diaper changing technique in one word, what would it be?
Messy. Brendan has so funny. Brendan is learning. He had to change some of the poopy diapers, and while he was in the middle of changing, he forgot to put another diaper underneath her. So she started peeing, and then it soaked through the changing table. We have this protector, and then it soaked through the mat on top of the change. So 3 layers of protection. And Brendan was like, "This has happened more than once." So I would say messy, but he's learning. He's definitely learning.
Is he near you right now? I want you to ask him a question.
No, he's not. He just went to go. We had to get dog food for our dog, so he just took Ben's out to go get dog food this morning.
I was gonna ask if he had a choice between changing a diaper and going back in the Big Brother house, what would it be? But maybe we'll find out later.
Oh, great question. Yeah, we'll find out later.
All right. Well, everybody.
I think he would pick changing diapers.
Really? Okay. All right. Well, you'll have to text me.
So.
Text me the answer later. I want to know, and I'll tell everybody. So everybody can stay in touch. You're on Twitter all the time. I know that, right?
Absolutely. We're on Twitter. We're on Periscope, and we're on Instagram. I'm trying to be more active on Instagram since all these kids are on Instagram nowadays. So I'm trying to be more active on Instagram. But, you can find me on Twitter at Rachel Reilly, on Instagram at Rachel Reilly Viegas. And then on Periscope, my Periscope is at Rachel Reilly, and Brendan's Periscope. Brendan's always on Periscope, and he always Periscopes with Adora and I, and his is at BrendanBB12.
All right, well, we'll be sure to check it out. Well, thank you so much. One of our favorite guests joining us on our 10th anniversary broadcast. Rachel Reilly, thank you.
Thank you.
We're out of time on The Scribble. Subscribe at thescribbleshow.com and on SoundCloud and iTunes. My email address, live@jbonair.com. Talk to you same time, same place next week. Bye-bye, everybody.
Want more Scribble? Check out thescribbleshow.com for past shows, celebrity interviews, cheapskate tips, and more. That's at thescribbleshow.com and on Twitter at The Scribble Show. The Scribble is a speak-free media presentation.
If you want some real heat,